Hey YouTube, it's Jurak Master, and since I've just done my Evo Fury case opening, it's time to get right into the decks. This is going to be the Cyberlords updated, and right at the end I'm going to talk a little bit about my choices. Some of them I think a lot of people are kind of disagreeing with, my choices on how many of what to use, and some cards I'm just not using, and I'll try to touch on that a little bit. But I'm going to jump right into this right now, and see how it goes. So, I've got one Waterspout Gargoyle and one Milporo. I know I was using two of each before, I'll touch on that a little bit later. 3 Hokira, 2 Reef-Prince, 3 Finbarr, 3 Emperor Neuron, 3 Hovercraft, 2 Seneschal, 3 Reef Gladiator, 2 Cyber Trader, and 3 Cyber Sprite. So that's 27 creatures. And for spells, I've got 2 Aquatic Expulsion, 3 Veil Vortex, 3 Logo Scan, 3 Search the Depths, and 2 Ice Blade. So that's the deck itself. I'm going to touch on a few things about the deck and my choices of what I'm using. So I'll get right to that. The first thing I want to talk about is Reef Gladiator. If you're using a mono water deck and you're not using this guy at all, or even if you're only using him at 1 or 2, you need to use him at 3. He's amazing. He basically, in a mono water deck, is a 6,000 blocker that lets you draw when you block, and he only costs you 3, which is just outstanding. So use him. I know he's not a Cyberlord. A lot of people really hate, for whatever reason, they hate using non-Cyberlords in a Cyberlord deck, but you don't need that many. In fact, I don't need as many as I have, personally. But the way I've built mine around certain things like Finbarr and Hokira, it kind of makes sense to have them. The 2 Seneschal decision was one that I came around to fairly early on, but then decided I didn't want to do it, and then went back to it. You don't really need 3, especially with Emperor Neuron, because Emperor Neuron's a Seneschal that can't be blocked and is a little stronger. The only thing is it's an evolution, but who cares? I've got plenty of Cyberlords that cost less than 3, so it's really pretty much the same card, except better. And as good as Seneschal is to have, even with everything else I've got, he's not necessary, because I just don't really have the time to play him except later on, at which point I'm pretty much in a situation where I'm all set anyway. So he's really only necessary at 2. Just a note, always play Hovercraft. He makes it so that however many blockers you have is sufficient. Imagine facing down 1 or 2 of these guys and have me re-spam these for 1 mana every single turn. And on top of that, I might even have a couple Finbars out, making these guys 4, 6, 8,000 blockers for 1. Really good. Not to mention, Cyber Sprite can give you Emperor Neuron for 4 mana, all in 1 turn. So it's an easy drop for multiple Neurons at once. And Hovercraft just lets you recycle everything. You can even, Neuron can bump heads with someone, and then you can get it back the next turn. Hovercraft just makes Cyberlords so good. The other thing I really need to talk about is why I'm using 1 of each of these. There's just no room to have a bunch of stuff. Even, I see a lot of people using Emperor Axon, which, as much as I like him, he's a finisher that's level 4, and we've already got a good enough level 3. Sure, this deck has 0 double breakers in it, but it doesn't really need them because it has massive field presence at all times. I'm always spamming tons of creatures on the field, and it's really hard to get past me. for any extended period of time. The only thing that can really mass wipe me is Tendril Grasp, and even then, I can recover from that because of all the mana you give me. I guess Storm Spark Blast will get by me as well, but that's going to be a problem even if you have those big double breakers. I'm just spamming little creatures that can get past you and are going to defend against you. As you can see, I mean, I've got Hokiras coming in, making sure I have enough cards in my hand at all times. This makes everything stronger so it can deal with your big creatures. You can't block this, and it lets me draw. And I've got little blockers like this that can be respammed because of Hovercraft. And then I've got all these support creatures on the field, like Hovercraft and Hokira, all of them really, and Finbarr. And then they can all push, Finbarr helps push for the win when you need to push at all their shields. And most of them are Cyber Lords, which means I can drop this. So the point here being, these high cost things in this deck, these guys can't fast attack, so they're not really that helpful because the opponent's just going to replay them. And another weakness these have is against evolution creatures. You're giving your opponent back a lot more in their hand, or letting them replay that Hydra Medusa that's a big pain to you, and they're just not as helpful. I'd rather play something like Veil Vortex on an opponent than these guys for the most part, unless I can afford to play another card the same turn, in which case I'd probably rather use Milporo or Waterspout. So it's just a lot of times this deck needs to focus around dropping the really small creatures repeatedly every turn and keeping it up just to beat you. It can't afford to take one entire turn to play one card. But that being said, if you have the field presence, this can be a really devastating blow to the opponent. So finally, I guess pretty much at the end, I had to put these back in. They're level 5, which is part of it, and they keep your hand going. Despite all of the cards in this deck that can keep your hand going, it just wasn't enough. I needed something that could cover enough ground, like being a level 5 and having that ability at the same time, because certain things you're going to need to have level 5s to get around it. It's just part of the game. So I had to have something like that. This can do the same thing, but you need others on the field. So this is more for when it's a little later in the game and you're not as set up as you'd like to be, so that this could be a more useful drop. Just one last note that I think I forgot to mention on why I'm not using Emperor Axon is because of the fact that he's really just outclassed, and you don't need evolutions to be good. We've got Emperor Neuron, and I wouldn't be using Emperor Neuron if he didn't have his crazy effects like he does. It's not just because he's an evolution. Evolutions themselves aren't inherently amazing. It's the effects that are on them and the other cards that go with their species. So if Cyber Lords weren't already so good, Emperor Neuron wouldn't be that good. It's really what you can do with them, and since I can use this guy for an early game play or multiple late game unblockable finish you off plays, he's really a lot better than you would expect from Emperor Axon, who I wish I could use him, but as I've said, you don't need the double breaker, and a 4/6000 is just not all that good because anything can kill 4s. If I'm gonna go for something, I might as well go for the one that can't be blocked, because Emperor Axon's probably just gonna get blocked by something, and then next turn they can kill it off. This thing at least won't be blocked. You'll draw a card, and then they can kill it later. That's basically all I have to say on this. I feel that this is the best version of Cyber Lords that I could come up with, and it's working really well. I've tested it against a lot of other decks that are supposedly going to be the best out there for the duration of Evo Fury up until the next pack when things might change. And I feel like Cyber Lords is going to be an amazing deck, and this build looks to be like it's a pretty good one. So leave any feedback you have on this deck in the comments, And if you guys want to see any other decks, please tell me. I'm probably going to post my Nature Darkness Chimeras, because that seems to be working really well, and it's a pretty interesting deck build, in my opinion. So, thanks for watching, guys. Leave any comments below, and have a nice day.